Hey, good friends. Welcome to our digital village. It's great to see you. It's Thursday. That means it's time for the Tarot Topics newsletter recap. This week, Tarot Topics is about fear. Counting your fears. The idea is, rather than being avoidant in the things that we fear, if we can make a list, be clear about what we fear, we can then manage it. And it is better to manage fear than to avoid it. It is better to manage fear than to feel shame for it. So that's what we're here to talk about. It's pretty simple. I am very happy to see you all here. If you happen to be local, I hope you will join us at Panera Bread this coming Sunday, 4 p.m. for our monthly tarot meetup. All right, let's hop on over to CardCam, where we're using the Smith-Waite Tarot from the little tin. All right, I will take these in the order in which I see them, starting with Trey Cameron. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than a year. We appreciate you. My biggest fears relate to my deepest secrets getting out. Some of that has related to my writing and has held me back. I understand completely. I'm finally getting over that, slowly. Any advice from Spirit about this? Friend, I can tell you, one of the fabulous things about being the age I am is I can finally start to share the things that were like my most shameful stories, my most like the things I didn't want anybody to know. All these years later, I can now share them and they're funny stories. It's funny how time does that. All right, anyway, what advice does Spirit have for you about that? Okay. So first of all, I think when we talk about writing and we think about the greatest writers had some really interesting lives. Like, whatever the big secrets are, they would probably only add to your mystique as a writer. So I think the universe believes a couple of things. Number one, you are overestimating just how unsavory these secrets are. Like, I don't think anyone died. Number one. And number two, I think that having some texture makes good writers, and it's expected. So those are some thoughts. And even if someone did die, it wasn't your fault. Just saying. All right. Melissa, so good to see you. Thanks for being a member for 2 years. We appreciate you. Thanks for using members only emojis. Trey says makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I get it, and I laugh at myself now, you know. But I don't know. My younger self looks at my younger self and laughs. I don't know. All right. Melissa, has been a heck of a week. My 10 of Wands week, as I've been joking with myself. I'm so sorry. We had a big event yesterday, 1,000 people, and I was speaking as part of an awards program. My immediate question is about my fear that I'm not a good public speaker and that people think I'm an imposter or not fit for a leadership role. Yeah, I get it. I understand. So how did I do? And in the long run, how can I get over this? Okay, so first of all, how did you do in your speaking role? You did great. You did absolutely fine. You were absolutely appropriate. You just won't allow yourself to see that. But you did fine. The only person who thinks you're an imposter is you. You knew that. You really did know that. But that's part of imposter syndrome, is we worry that we really are an imposter and other people know it, right? That's how deep it goes. So, what do you do to get over this? Melissa, shocking, right? And I mean, I say this with all love. I mean, I'm laughing at you, but I'm really laughing with you because, like, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. It takes a lot to get up in front of people and speak and be comfortable with it. It takes a lot. As someone who does it regularly, I can tell you that in the beginning, it was hard. It was really, really hard. I totally get it. So, practice makes perfect, I guess. All right. So, how can you get over this fear of not being taken seriously? And that is such an interesting thing that you have put it that way. Like not the whole larger imposter syndrome, no. How do you get over the fear of not being taken seriously? Which, let's face it, you work for the government, you're female, and you're a physically attractive female. So right away, a lot of people aren't going to take you seriously. So, like, it's a hard thing because from a very feminist perspective, I think we have to recognize that, like, as a woman in a position of power in a traditionally male monolith, the government, commerce, there are people who won't take you seriously. The thing is, you can't fear them. They should fear you. You can't fear them. They should fear you. And I think that's the mindset you have to have as regards that part of it, that part of not being taken seriously. Now, Melissa, maybe I'm just surrounded by such egomaniacs that my modesty seems like lack of leadership. Well, that's a reckoning that we're having across the planet right now, is what should leadership look like and who should be a leader? And is leadership calm, thoughtful collaboration? Or is leadership standing up there and saying, I'm the best, only I can do this? And this has been a conversation of the ages. And we go back and forth on this, but Melissa, you can only be as you are. Now, is it true that there are chest-thumping behemoth people who are looking at you and saying, what's she doing up there? What's she doing up there? Is that true? To some extent, sure. And I mean, Eddie Haskell's probably one of them. But you are also placed in this role by people in this organization. So I think a lot of what you're dealing with is misogyny. The misogyny of the organization and the misogyny you were raised with. I really think that's specifically what it is. I don't think this is personal self-esteem stuff. I think it's misogyny. And the reason I say that is because of the way you worded being taken seriously. And then when you said, surrounded by such egomaniacs that my modesty seems like lack of leadership, that's just what it feels like. So what do we do about that? What do we do about that? We recognize how freaking sad it is that this is the case for you and every other woman in a leadership position. And we get pissed. That kind of anger that is a slow burning anger that motivates activists. And we get real about our agenda of personal change because we recognize this is not a failing within you. This is something that has been done to you consciously by a system that wants to say, oh, I'm holding the door open for you, slam right in your face. It's just like Lucy and Charlie Brown and the football. I know I just really dated myself right there. So yeah, I think this particular thing you're looking at is how you confront systemic misogyny. Yeah. And there it is. Not your failing. All right. Ben, oh, wait a minute. Ben, you are coming up. But I'm doing Michelle first. Sorry. Melissa, you are very welcome. Smile Soul 20, good to see you. Thanks for being a member for more than 3 years. Michelle, good to see you. Michelle F, thanks for being a member for more than a year. Thanks for using members only emojis. I feel like I've worked through a lot of my fears of not being good enough. But lately I've been having a lot of nightmares about wrecking my new car or losing someone I love, like one of my kids. Oh my gosh, that's so painful. So maybe there's some kind of underlying fear of losing everything soon, or fear that I don't deserve this cool life I live. I'd love some insight. So if I could just speak on that before I pull some cards. What you've described is things that you can't control. You might wreck your new car. It happens. It happens to people all the freaking time. It happens to people who are great drivers. It happens to people who leave their car in the driveway. And unfortunately, child loss is a risk. It can happen. I cannot tell you, I think today, talking about fear, I can tell you, and this is my birthday month, so I'm processing getting older, but one of the things that's great about getting older is the things that you fear. Like, I feared child loss too. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Now that my kids are grown up, do I still worry about them? Of course. But that, I am responsible for keeping these little creatures alive. They have little creatures of their own to keep alive. Do I still worry? Of course. But it's not that same gut-wrenching fear. So sometimes, these things get over with the passage of time, right? Oh, Jenny, thank you so much. We'll be talking about my birthday a lot this month, I'm sure, because, hey, that's what we'll do. All right, anyway. So what you're asking about are these fears that we can't control. Things can happen. Bad things can happen. And I feel like when we have fear about the things we can't control, the question is really about how do we manage that fear? How do we make sure we're checking every box, being a safe driver, taking care of our kids, but also managing the fact that these things are out of our control? So, what do the cards have to say? So you said some interesting things, Michelle. You said underlying fear of losing everything too soon, or fear that I don't deserve this cool life I live. I mean, all of that could be a factor, but I'm going with Occam's razor with this one and saying it's the fear of the things we can't control. And you are a person who does superhuman things. You have a job and a business and kids. You hold yourself to incredibly high standards. And you do amazing things. And so you are well aware that you try to control every single thing, but you're human, you can't. So I think this is about confronting the spiritual truth that prayer, magic, divination, being excellent, being a good human, nothing in the end will save us from the capricious hand of fate, should the capricious hand of fate strike. This is not saying that it will, but I think the nightmares are part of your spiritual growth as you accept that truth. And so then what must you do? Well, you already know you're doing every possible thing you can. So I think it goes back to that fabulous quote, nurture strength of spirit to shield you in times of sudden misfortune. Because the only thing that we can count on 100% of the time is ourselves. Our own ability to respond to a crisis. our own ability to get better, not bitter, our own ability to handle whatever life throws at us. And so that's what you got to lean into. All right. Ben, Libra Does Tarot. Thanks for being a member for more than 2 years. Thanks for being a moderator. We appreciate you. Oh, biggest fear remains letting down the people I care about and losing them. Can't speak for the other people in your life, Ben, but you'd have to screw up pretty hard to lose the support of this village. I got to tell you, in the StaarCon village, you are way too loved for that. I just got to tell you that. I know it's irrational, thank you. But it goes back to childhood stuff, so it's hard to shift. Any advice on wiping the old tapes? I got you. I'm feeling it too, man. I feel it. All right. So this is at core a self-esteem issue. At core, it's the idea that you are valued based on what you do, not based on who you are. And while, of course, we do love what you do, you need to know that you're valued based on who you are, that you inherently have value. That's what you need to know. And part of it is about really enjoying your own company. Hey, moderators, there's a couple of people asking comments about what the questions are and what we're doing. First moderator to get there and just put in a comment about it would be most appreciated. So I think it's about self-love, Ben. I really do. I think it's about self-love, and I think it's about enjoying your own company and recognizing that if you enjoy your own company, other people will too. I think it's like that. Oh, Ness, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for more than 2 years. I have fears about my psychic ability. Do you now? Do you now? Do you now? So fears about my psychic ability. Sorry, that just took me on a whole mental, emotional rabbit hole. Did you guys just see me glitch right there? I was glitching. There it is. Okay. I have fears about my psychic ability. A lot of cultural fear about opening doors we can't control. What should I know about this? Well, if I may, if I could just sort of share my theory on that, is Caroline Ironwill. She's a creator on here, and she's presenting at StaarCon. She's so funny. She does this thing in October, like we talk about the veil between the worlds. The veil between the worlds is thin in October. And so it's easier to have spirit communication. And she's like, bitch, the veil between the worlds is always thin. It's a veil, not a down comforter. And I kind of want to say the same thing to you, Ness, that those doors were never closed in the first place. Those doors are open. The veil is always thin. Spirit is always here. And there's nothing ruder than having guests you don't talk to. And honestly, who's the guest? Who's the guest? Like when I go into a new home, a new building, whatever, I will do a ritual addressing the spirits of the building, recognizing they've been here before me. So I think for me, it's about recognizing that spirit is just always here, like it's not separate. but that's just me. All right, let's do the reading. What should you know about this? What should you know about your fears here? I think some of it is the garden variety fear of seeing something you don't want to see for yourself or for someone else, and not knowing how to say it and being afraid that it will cause damage or cause harm. So I think some of it is about, like, going back to what I was saying to Michelle F., about trusting your ability to handle whatever life throws at you. So if you can trust your ability to handle whatever life throws at you, then you can trust your ability to see whatever you need to see. Well, tell me what you think. Mix you here. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. All right. Mix you here. Michelle in Toronto. Great newsletter topic. Thank you. I always seem to have the fear that I will die alone in some nursing home or homeless on the street. And then I constantly push people away, and then I will never find my romantic life partner. I'm actually crying as I write this because these are the things I don't often say aloud. Thank you for trusting this community. Thank you. They're inside thoughts that I usually keep in my brain, but everything going on with my family right now is kind of triggering all of those inside thoughts. I understand. I don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe just a reassurance from Spirit that I will not end up alone, that I'll find a romantic life partner, that I won't push all my friends away. I don't know, just something. Anyway, thank you for letting me be vulnerable and dramatic, that I won't die alone and confused with dementia. And you know, last year I looked up how to pronounce the appropriate greeting, and I forgot to look it up this year, and I forgot. Is it Shana Tova? I don't know how to say it. If someone would give me the pronunciation, I'd appreciate it. I'll look it up. I apologize for not knowing. But I know something about apples and honey and sweetness, and I know that. So wishing you all of that. And I'm sorry for my ignorance. Anyway, let's do the reading. And again, I'm sorry to be like, well, let me tell you about myself here. But so much of this is so relatable to me. Oh, Shana Tova. Shana Tova. Thank you. Thank you. So I can tell you that in my 20s, nuclear war was my first fear. Being homeless was my second. You know, being a bag lady. That's what we called them back then, being a bag lady. Later on, I experienced homelessness, and it was fine. It was fun. I had a good time with it. So, you know, whatever. But I get you. I totally get you. I totally understand. And Tova. Shana Tova. Shana Tova. Right? Grade me. Grade me. Did I do that? Did I get it right? Shana Tova. Let me know. Okay. So there's a lot going on here, Mixure. I got a 10 out of 10, yes. I mean, you've got the genetic thing, like the very real thing, that there are cognitive decline issues in your family. So that's like, I understand why that's a real fear. And then there's the friendship, romance thing, and the relationship stuff, and all of that. So let's just pull cards. Like, let's just understand that the universe has heard this conversation, because I can't phrase a particular question on that. So we're just going to say the universe has heard you. What does it want to say in return? Is it fair to say that you deal with some mood disorder stuff? I mean, I know you've got chronic pain, and so that's like not even a fair question, because if you have chronic pain, you're going to have mood issues because it's hard to be in a great mood when your body is on fire. So I think we have to start by recognizing that a lot of what's going on for you as fear is coming through the lens of some very real stuff. Depression, anxiety, chronic pain, right? Yup, depression, anxiety, literally medicated, right? Plus the chronic pain. And so I think we recognize that you are dealing with some very real challenges. And yes, it is the voice of depression and anxiety that give you these fears, but we also recognize that mental health is one of the reasons that people end up homeless. Mental health is one of the reasons that people end up with relationship issues. So again, like, you have real concerns. Do I think that those real concerns mean that you're going to end up in this worst case scenario? No, but I think we have to look at strategy. Like, what's the strategy here? What's the strategy for managing what you have to manage, being open to relationships and friendships, and building the life for yourself that you want? And it's really about the resources of like money and good people. You know, those are the resources you're really looking for, right? So what do you need to know about that? You are getting better at activating your optimism, which is a thing. Like when we have depression, we have to consciously, in the front of our brain, activate our optimism. And you are getting better at that because it won't naturally happen necessarily. So you have to consciously activate optimism. And like, a great thing about you is you're tenacious. And I think that tenacity really, really helps you. Make sure you drink enough water. I realize that sounds so silly, but dehydration is something that happens a lot with depression and anxiety. And, you know, so make sure you drink enough water. And this is the thing, like, the issues that you have here are real practical logistical issues. And I think they are solved in real practical logistical ways. Now, as far as the social aspect, which brings in the romantic aspect, that's the one that really terrifies you. But I think it has everything to do with the fact that you are not like the other children. And I think you will find your people, the other people, like, you just need to find Misfit Island. Like, you know, we all have different ways of thinking about it, you know, finding your Hogwarts house. Finding the people that you resonate with, and you're finding them. And I think part of it is understanding your own identity. I think you've had a hard time understanding your own identity. And when you don't understand your own identity, how can you understand, you know, who are the people who belong with me? So a lot of this is leaning into who you are and really looking at, you know, what are the things you enjoy? What makes you laugh? What do you care about? What are the things you enjoy doing? All of that. Make sure you're on Weight Watchers, so you have to drink a lot of water. Good, good, good. That's fabulous. That will help. That will help. So I think a lot of it, and like going to Weight Watchers, that's you showing up for yourself. And this is why, okay, on a very practical level, Michelle, coming back full circle to your question, I can tell you very practically why you will not end up alone and forgotten and, not celebrated. Because even in the midst of chronic pain, depression, holiday anxiety, all kinds of stuff, you still show up for yourself. You still go to Weight Watchers. You still sing. You still try to do the things you need to do. It's not always easy, but you do it. And because you show up for yourself, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Yeah. And I'll tell you something about money, Mixture. Like there's money and then there's not money. There's money and then there's the hand-to-mouth people. But the thing about being a hand-to-mouth person is if you build up a lot of goodwill, you gain a lot of spiritual currency, which is almost just as good as money in the bank. So there's that. All right. So here we go. A penny for your thoughts. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. Thanks for being a moderator. My biggest fear is that my daughter, who is no contact, will never reconnect, that there will not be a reconciliation. And that's a hard one because that's one you can't really do anything about. That's up to her. And I mean, I think the chances, I think it could go either way, honestly. And so the real advice here is to recognize that this is something you can't control. And so, like on a day-to-day level, I think finding acceptance to the situation is probably what's going to help most. And then whatever happens, happens. Reaper TV, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. So today we're talking about fear. And if you're starting new business, I know you have a lot of fear, so we can do it from that perspective. How will this all go? It's not smooth. It's difficult. You are a haver of wonderful ideas, but sometimes things are hard in the execution, and sometimes there's not enough money to make things move forward. It is a good idea, though, so see what you can do to get the support behind it to move it forward. Ness, thank you for that. Yep, thought maybe. All right. Liz Harrison, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Hang on one second. Liz, thanks for being a member for more than a year. I've only ever lived in fear of nearly everything and have tried so hard to free myself from living in a state of constant fear. That's what a high control religion will do for you. It's a daily decision I make to not be afraid, and I'm proud of myself. Yeah, I'm proud of you too. Is there any guidance from my guides that could further help me with this quest and help my children can be free from that fear as well? Well, I mean, you've already done it. By breaking free from the high control religion, you've already done it. It now only exists in your head. And so it's about constantly being aware and deconstructing. If you think something is true, why do I think it's true? And just keep asking why, until you get down to because it was something you were taught in church. And then you can decide if it's true or not. So it's just constant deconstruction. but you're doing it and you're doing a great job, and it's going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Your kids are going to be fine. Well done. Aw, Jenny, good to see you. Thanks for being here, Jenny Berlin. You have a sick cat and you're worried about the possibility of losing your cat. That's hard. This one, I feel like this could go either way. I mean, obviously, we do lose our cats and dogs because they have a shorter lifespan than we do. But I don't know that this particular moment is that. Could be either way. Ness, I have feelings about things that are floating and not on pointing. Makes me paranoid. I think there's a type issue there. Yeah. Reach out. We can talk about that. I have tricks for that. All right. Justine, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a moderator. We appreciate you. Liz Harrison, yes. I learned the why trick. It was a thing about racism. That you have to just keep asking, like if you're saying, like all black people are this way and it's some bad way, why? And then you get to the root of it. That's how I learned that trick. But it's also true about religion. I've had to unpack some things from my own background. Like, why do I believe that? Why do I believe that? Yeah. It's a good trick. So, Justine. Thanks for being a moderator. We appreciate you. How can I manage my fears and anxieties about getting back out in social settings? I've always been self-conscious, but it's at a whole new level these days. Yeah. Okay. Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about, Justine. I know exactly what you're talking about, yes. And the fact is, no one else can see it. That's the thing that you need to know. No one else can see it. No one else can see it. And so, I mean, and it may exist as an outgrowth of social anxiety. Like social anxiety might be the cause of what you're experiencing. And so the key is just to not react to... It reminds me of a video game. Okay, I'm really going to date myself. A video game from when my kids were growing up. It was Super Mario Brothers, Yoshi's Island. And there was one level, touch fuzzy, get dizzy. I was the only one in my family who could easily get through that level, so I would get everybody through that level. And what would happen is you would touch this thing and you could not avoid touching it, and then everything would get dizzy. And you couldn't trust your eyes. You would have to go with what you know. You're in that video game right now. And so... You know what I'm talking about. Oh my gosh. So yeah, you just have to play that video game. No one else can see what you're seeing here. It's like when you have vertigo, no one else sees the world spinning but you. Know that, and it'll be better. Oh, Liz, the why thing, super interesting, because in the religion you grew up in, you were not allowed to ask why or question. For that matter, you did as you were told. Yeah. Well, that's the thing about high control religion. I grew up in a low control religion where, God is powerful enough that God can stand some questioning. And if you question and something doesn't feel right in your heart, then that's between you and God. So members of the congregation are trusted to have their own relationships with God. Right? Okay. Barbie Bird, you are up next. Thanks for being a member for more than a year. I'm fearful I'll never have a relationship with my sister again. I'm fearful she'll hate me forever, hate our family, and never come back. I've done a really good job compartmentalizing, holding space for my feelings, but it's October and her birthday is coming up. It's a week out from when she went missing and everything turned upside down. I'd really like to know what's happening, why it's happening. Can I be hopeful for the future, or is my fear a reality I have to get used to? All right, let's take a look. Okay. Yes, definitely some similar themes today, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so with your sister's pissed. And she is definitely believing what she wants to believe and is blaming the family for her misfortunes. And that's the story that I think she's built up around herself. Still, yes. Now, it's not working out for her. Like, she's not doing any better now than she was before. Like, it hasn't changed anything for her. But it's hard to like come back and admit that you're wrong, right? Is she still homeless? Potentially, yeah. Potentially. And there might be some legal issues as well. So clearly we're dealing with some heavy mental health issues here. And I think that's the thing we have to recognize is she's got heavy mental health issues that perhaps were not addressed as they could have been or should have been in the past. Definitely not addressed appropriately now. And so what can you do? I mean, you're right to be afraid. Like, she's at risk. She's at risk. What can you do? There's not a lot you can do. Is it good to text her? Let's see. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't, because if she hasn't blocked you, that will probably cause her to block you. And it would be better to just keep the communication open. So I would say don't. Yeah. So unless there is some social service agency that can help here where you are, yeah, I wouldn't message her. You know, I assume if there is something that exists in Canada to, you know, to find your loved ones and help them, you could look, but there's probably not. I mean, I know there's not in the US, but I mean, there's nothing in the US, right? So you could look. But this has to be addressed as a mental health issue. Like, that's the bottom line. It is a mental health issue. That's how it needs to be addressed. And I think like the best you're going to do here really is going to be prayer and magic to try to offer her spiritual support, because she's not accepting any other kind of support. So do that. Right. Yeah, and just like Barbie, don't take it personally. Don't take it personally. This is mental health. This is mental health. It's not personal. And so there's that. All right. Okay. Joyous Ocean, hang in there. Oh my gosh, Joyous Ocean, you've got 2 people in the hospital after suicide attempts. Wow. Joyous Ocean, thanks for being a member for more than a year. I don't know if you're here right now, but it's a lot. And, you know, it's everything to be angry about. And that's the thing. Like, it makes you sad, but you got to let it make you angry, because the reason it's happening is because of how hard it is to live on this planet right now. And so let it make you be more of an activist. And I mean, how can you be more of an activist? But you know what I mean? Like, let it strengthen your resolve in recognizing, like, what causes suicide? Financial issues. It's not just a mental health issue. What causes suicide? I mean, it is a mental health issue, of course, but financial issues, relationship issues, all kinds of things. Racism is an issue. I mean, there's a lot there. So you're allowed to be sad, but let it fuel the warrior that you are. That's really the key. Okay. Lumen, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. I actually wonder how my generation is going to cope when we get older, because no one wants kids anymore. Not that kids are obligated to take care of their parents, but it is a support system in older age. Yeah. But you'll have robots. It'll be all right. Okay, and Lumen, your question is next. Here we go. Hang on. My fear is, will I ever get to have the experience of having a child and having my own family in this lifetime? Or is this time around meant for building my individual wealth and career? Oh man, I can't wait. I want a robot to take care of me. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. I am down for that. All right, Lumen, here we go. Will you, robots freak you out? I'm married to IT John, right? So I have to love machines. Like, he loves me and, you know, his kids and grandkids and machines, right? All right, here we go. For Lumen, having kids, yeah, absolutely, yes. If you want a family, you absolutely can. Yeah, you absolutely can. Just remember you asked for it. And also career and wealth. You can do all of those things. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, absolutely yes. Febborn. So good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member. You're caught up in the formatting loop. I understand completely. It is hard to format, and it's particularly hard to format poetry. Having difficulty launching with KDP. Pagination is a nightmare. Let's see what the cards have to say. It's hard. I mean, if you had money, you could just hire someone to format it. You could look and see what it's going to cost to hire someone to format it, or just keep working and learn how to do it. And then, Febborn, check. Come to the front. I got an idea for you. Learn how to do it. Take the time, learn how to do it. It may take a couple of weeks. It may take a month. Google is your friend. Learn how to do it. And then once you know how to do it, you can hire yourself out and make money doing it for other people. How about that? Okay. Peggy Lou, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a member for 3 years. What direction does the universe want me to do in the future to move forward, to be happy and not live in fear with my living situation? I think to find what could be a secure situation, whatever it is you need to do that. I do think you have to look for, is it about making money? Is it about getting on a list for subsidized housing? Like, what is it? But like practically finding better housing is what you need. February, what a splendid idea. There you go. It's not easy, but once you learn it, you learn it. Because everyone else is going through what you're going through too. I know that from experience. Okay. Vaishali, so good to see you. Thanks for being here. I have fears of facing my issues like anxiety, negativity, not believing in myself. I don't know why I have these fears and why I'm not able to face them. I fear my failure the most, and also getting disappointed with myself for not doing what should be done from my side. Vaishali, I think, you fear both things. You fear not being successful, but you also fear letting go of depression and anxiety, because then the responsibility for success is incumbent upon you. Whereas if you are actively in mental health crisis, on some level that responsibility is taken from you. So you have to be willing to take responsibility for your own success in order to get well. That's what it takes. Peggy Lou, you are very welcome. My friends, I want to thank you so much for being here. If you don't subscribe to the newsletter, please do. There is a link to do so. In the descriptions, there's links to do all the things. Please do the things. I'll be back tomorrow. I haven't put the links up yet, but I will. I'll be back tomorrow with the Friday weekly wrap-up at noon Eastern Time. I want to thank all of you so much, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow.